Who are you? What is the essence of your being? If you could completely turn off all of your senses, stop thinking, and clear your mind, what would be left? Emptiness. It's kind of like a black hole. Things go into your mind, but where do they go? Where is your mind? Any ideas? Is it just a neural network of cells and a bunch of chemical reactions? Or does it transcend all of these words? In truth, all of these words come from your mind. When I use the word mind, I don't mean your brain. I mean the essence of your being. You might also call it your heart, your soul, your spirit, or consciousness. The thing I'm referring to transcends all of these words in some way. It's very difficult to communicate exactly what it is, but everyone knows they have a mind, even if they don't know what it is. You can also experience your mind through meditation. Everyone's mind is kind of like a black hole. You can assess what's going on inside it by the actions going on outside of it, but you can never really know what's inside. It's like trying to understand what's going on inside a building that you can't go inside. You can look at the sign on the outside and the people going in and out of the building, and you can deduce what's happening inside, but you can't get any direct observations or proof of what's actually going on inside the building. In physics, they actually do the same thing with black holes. They assess and deduce what might be going on inside with mathematics, but we can't observe the inside because physical light and energy can't escape. So there's nothing to observe. It just appears as emptiness. Looking at a black hole is kind of like looking into someone's eyes, deep into their pupil. Somehow you can get a sense of what's in their mind, but you never really truly know for sure. The mind casts an invisible light, which is bright enough to illuminate the entire universe and all of reality. Every living being is also like a star that asserts detectable forces on the universe. A star radiates energy, light, and warmth, which has an effect on the environment around it. When a star dies, it becomes a black hole. The black hole is not an object. It's a place that exists and appears as a void of emptiness. And yet it still asserts a force of gravity on the universe. It's very similar to when a person dies. All of the actions they took while they were alive had an effect on the world, which create momentum and put things on a certain trajectory. After they die, everything they touched continues on a path which was influenced by the person that is no longer there. This means our minds can assert gravity on the universe similar to a black hole, even after our bodies are gone. It's interesting. I came to this understanding during a meditation after my teacher died. I wrote about it in the memorial poem I wrote for him. I was an engineer for many years before I started studying Zen, so I'm fascinated by the intersection between science and spirituality. Science only deals with material things that can be physically observed. Yet it's always being driven by a mind, which is not a material thing. So the mind is always affecting our scientific experiments in some way. Every scientific experiment requires a mind to make observations, take measurements, and collect data. This means that every scientific experiment requires a source of consciousness in order to do it. The mind and consciousness are variables in every experiment that we don't understand how to account for it in a material way. Most scientific fields explain the universe through the cause and effect of various forms of matter. This can lead you to believe there's a deterministic feature in nature. This process works for the most part until you get down to studying the fabric of reality on the smallest quantum level. Quantum physics studies the level of reality where particles interact. Particles are the tiny building blocks which make up all of the atoms and forms of energy in our universe. When you study this aspect of reality, it starts to get fuzzy, and our ability to predict things by means of cause and effects starts to break down. Light is a foundational form of energy in nature, which is the basis for many of our observations of our world and the universe. Light moves through the universe as a wave, faster than anything else we've ever observed. When we observe light through scientific experiments, it appears as a particle. But we're unable to predict where that particle is until it's observed. After it's been observed or measured, every particle in the universe that has ever interacted with that particle becomes correlated on a quantum level, and that information is somehow transferred to every other particle that it's interacted with in the universe, regardless of how far away it is. It happens instantaneously. This means that the information is transferred faster than the speed of light. This correlation amongst the particles is called quantum entanglement. This phenomenon of quantum entanglement has some very interesting implications. It suggests that the very act of observation changes the fabric of reality all across the universe instantaneously. This seems to undermine the idea that things in the universe are predetermined by some material set of conditions. This, to me, suggests that the fabric of reality only becomes fixed as it's observed by a source of consciousness. I would suggest that every time a wave is observed as a particle, it leaves behind a tiny corresponding black hole. What do I mean by that? Once the fabric of reality has been determined through observation, it leaves a series of imaginary possibilities that can only exist in your mind. You could imagine where the particle ended up in a different place or even an alternate universe. Those imaginary scenarios are not reality, but they could still affect your perception of reality if you think about them. All of these possibilities that could have happened only exist in a black hole. That black hole is the realm of your mind. So is this type of thinking real? All of these possibilities are not real in a material sense, but thinking can have an effect on your physical actions. So in that sense, they can still assert a force that affects reality. Much in the same way that a memory of a friend that has passed away can be a source of inspiration and can cause you to do something different in your life. Now, I'm veering away from science into philosophy and spirituality, but I think it could be worthwhile to consider how these realms interact via the mind. According to quantum physics, our observations cause correlation, which is a measurable effect, and it suggests that everything in the universe is entangled. To me, this suggests that the observations by a mind or a source of consciousness is what weaves the fabric of our reality. This implies that the mind is a fundamental part of the fabric of reality, and it may indeed be the foundation of everything. This is essentially what Buddhists have been saying for thousands of years, but they didn't have the scientific technology to prove it. They were able to develop this level of awareness of the universe through meditation practice. If we relied solely on what we were able to deduct about our existence through logic and reasoning, it's possible to conclude that reality is the result of our imagination. However, if that's true, how come we can't bend the universe to our will? The fact that we can't do this suggests that there are other forms of consciousness outside of ourselves making observations which cause correlations and entanglements themselves. If the observations or measurements that trigger correlation are originating from multiple sources, it implies that the entanglement that weaves together the fabric of our universe is actually the product of a shared consciousness. So I apologize if I'm getting a little too deep into the minutiae of science and philosophy, but I think it has important implications on our lives. Today I talked a lot about science, but my original understanding of all these things came through my meditation practice before I knew about the scientific research that supports these ideas. My meditation practice helps me maintain a clear mind, which has given me a heightened sense of my surroundings. In my deepest meditations, I became aware that different forms of consciousness are present within everything. And the reality we live in is the result of shared consciousness. This realization filled my heart with love for everything and everyone. This understanding led me on a path of compassion, simply trying to help other people understand themselves and reduce their own suffering. If we want to alleviate our suffering, we need to better understand ourselves and the reality we live in so that we can make better decisions in our lives. To understand the truth of nature and reality, as well as the nature of truth, we need to help each other understand. We need to share our knowledge and wisdom with each other. This means we need to be compassionate to each other. So, in closing, if I could offer you any advice going forward, I would suggest to you to keep meditating a little bit every day and keep asking yourself these deeper questions about the nature of the world we live in. Be patient with yourself and be compassionate to yourself, and be patient and compassionate with other people. If you keep this practice going through all of the challenges that life throws at you, you can attain enlightenment and you can help others do the same.